Behold the wizard! Beware his powers! Unspeakable powers! I wish that would have been my theme song. Well, folks, welcome for another show. And I'm returning as the great and powerful Oz. Or maybe I should do it like in that old classic movie do. I am Oz, the great and powerful. I think I like this song better. Now, I know what you baboons are thinking. What's the next fantasy I'm going to be reviewing, since I'm going to be dressed as the Wizard of Oz? What fantasy am I reviewing? Well, first off, I'm going to explain something. One thing I'm going to talk about that I hardly never reviewed much of, and never thought much of this certain director who puts a lot of twists into it. And it's none other than M. Night Shyamalan. Now, I have nothing against M. Night Shyamalan. I've seen most of his movies. There's some movies he made that I like, and some movies he made I don't like. I mean, he's no Tim Burton, but I kind of like his style. And sometimes I do like his twists. I just don't like it that some of his twists don't make any sense. I mean, movies I don't like that he made is The Sign, Last Airbender. I'm sort of in the middle of his version of The Devil. And, oh yeah. I don't like his version of The Happening. But there are movies he did made I did like The Unbreakable, The Village, The Village, Sixth Sense. I mean, that just shocked the heck out of me when Bruce Willis discovered that he was a ghost all along. Who'd have thunk it? And it turns out that Samuel L. Jackson was the villain all along. They call me Mr. Glass. I wanted them to die. Why I want them to die? Because I hope they burn in heck. Because they call me Mr. Glass. That's my Samuel L. Jackson impression. Now, what was it? What was it that I hear he's doing right now? Oh, yeah. I heard that M. Night Shyamalan, he's going to be involved with TNT. Not the Dynamite, the channel. TNT. And guess what he's going to be directing? Tales from the Crypt. That's right, folks. What? Who said that?
Really? M. Night Shyamalan is going to be directing Tales from the Crypt? Well, I guess it's my time to shine, then.
Relax, Crypt Keeper. You never know how long it's going to last. I mean, with M. Night Shyamalan, you never know. If he's going to make a TV series, I don't know if they're going to last or not. I mean, who knows?
Well, since M. Night Shyamalan is going to be directing Tales from the Crypt, that means there'll be a lot of twist in the end. And I like to go for a good twist. Like my favorite book, Oliver Twist. Although there is no twist in the story, but I like to give it a twist. So I hope M. Night Shyamalan does a good job for the new series of Tales from the Crypt. And that means if he's directing Tales from the Crypt, that means I'm back, baby!
Well, I don't know about you, but good riddance. I was getting so sick and tired of the Crypt Keeper showing up in my show every now and then. Just because I had him as a guest star on my show doesn't mean he wants to take over my show. But I do miss him, though. But, who knows? He may have some spare time from Tales from the Crypt to, make an appearance on my show. So, all I'm saying is good luck for the Crypt Keeper, and best of luck to M. Night Shyamalan if you're watching this. Now, what was it I was going to review today? Oh, yeah! My review for the day, folks. Some of you thought of this movie as a horror movie, but to me, I think it's a fantasy. And this movie, created by M. Night Shyamalan, is no longer than Lady in the Water. Kind of creepy when her eyes open and close, right? Now, you're going to be asking yourself, why do I think this is a fantasy? Well, is it obvious? Oh yeah, I also heard that that M. Night Shyamalan also made that movie with Will Smith and his son, but I'm not that interested. I don't think that was a good movie anyway. Can't stand Will Smith anyway. But anyway, Lady in the Water is one of my, I mean, some of you may not like it, but to me, it's a guilty pleasure. I kind of like this movie, and I do think of it as a fantasy. What's it all about? What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment we live? What's it all about when you're sorted out, Alfie? Sorry, getting to the mood. Just getting in the mood. Anyway, what's this movie is about? It's about this sort of like apartment hotel kind of place called the Cove. And the owner of the place his name is Mr. Heeb, and he's played by Paul Giamatti. That's him right here. Oh, here's a better look. Right here. Now, Paul Giamatti, he ended up working as the owner, caretaker, and, well, just a caretaker and owner. Anytime anybody has a problem, they'll come to him for help. And right now, he just gone through killing a giant insect, a giant hairy bug. I guess it's a tarantula. Ugh, I hate tarantulas. From a family of Mexican girls and their father. And then his life was about to change when he meets this girl Brace Dallas Howard. Is that her? I guess after... Anyway, he meets this woman. He thought he was just one of the people staying in one of the apartments who loves taking a night swim in the pool. But as he slipped and bumped his head, she picked him out of the water because he almost drowned. And the strangest thing, she's wearing a shirt but nothing else. But don't worry, nothing kinky is happening, so nothing erotic, nothing risque. It's just she She's just some mysterious woman. And she goes by the name of Story. Her name is Story. That is some name for a woman. And of course he asked her what exactly is she, what the heck is she? She said she's a narf. A narf. Kind of sounds like what Pinky always says at Pinky and the Brain. Narf! Oh, that is fun! Do it again, Brave! Narf! Narf! I love Pinky and the Brain. Gee, Brain, what are we going to do tonight? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. That's my Pinky and the Brain impression. Anyway, throughout the entire... Now, he was really curious. She said that she is a narf, and he wanted to know what that is. So, he walked up to this Korean teenage girl, which I have to say she's really dang hot. Anyway, what she does is she's studying so she can graduate from college, but she also likes to go out and party and all. And he asked her, does she know anything about this narf word? And she said that she remembered that her grandmother tell it to her when her grandmother was alive. And he asked her, does she know anything about it? She said she doesn't remember it, but her mother does. So she walks over to her mom and asks her what he knows about the narf. And she tells her anything. She tells her everything except she's Korean, so she speaks Korean. Although I have a suspicious feeling. I don't think she is Korean. Because I recognize the actress who played the mother. I've seen her in something else. She was in Big Trouble in Little China. And who did she play as on Big Trouble in Little China? She played the madam in The White Tigers. And for those of you who don't know what a white tiger is, it's an Asian version of a burlesque house. That's what it is. Anyway, she's a madam until in Big Trouble in Little China, lightning strikes a lightning at her after she screams, and she just went right through the door. But of course, in this movie, she's a caring mother, but doesn't speak English, and she starts telling her daughter, and the daughter starts telling Mr. Heeb about everything, about the narf, and she's supposed to be picked up by this giant eagle because she is chosen to be something they call a Madam Narf. And that's like a queen. Somehow, I mean, there is this prologue at the beginning of the movie. There is these water women who starts telling men in the dry land world things that they should be aware of the future, but they don't listen, and wars and murder starts happening. And now the land is owned by man, and it's guarded by these creatures that men do not know of, who try to keep the narf away from the dry land. And he was supposed to keep her next to the water so the eagle will show up. But it turns out this giant grass-like dog, he looks like a werewolf version of Chia. Chia Pet. A pottery egg rose. Whoopee. Anyway, the girl told Mr. Heeb that these grass dogs who keeps attacking her, they're called scrunts. And when they know if a narf becomes a Madam Narf, they disobey the rule and become a rogue scrunt, and it would stop at nothing to kill any narf who's going to be a Madam Narf. But what these scrunts fear of is these tattoo ticks. They look like monkeys made out of trees. they say tattoo ticks look like monkeys, and they say that they are so evil that they kill their own parents after birth. And they're the one who keeps the law in this land to make sure no squunts doesn't go out of his way to try to kill somebody. Now, Mr. Heap is trying to find a way to find help in order to contact the Eagle. So, guess what he goes to? He meets this film critic. And he starts telling him the basics of the story. Because one thing I do agree with that critic, there is no originality. You have to find people who are born to be able to do what they're capable of. Like I'm born to draw pictures, do impressions, make video reviews, and also write stories. Yeah, I did some story writing. And believe it or not, M. Night Shyamalan makes his appearance, but he doesn't make an appearance as a cameo. He plays a guy who has an Indian sister, which I say that his Indian sister, I mean the actress who plays the Indian sister, she's hot. Anyway, Mr. Heap was wondering what book is he writing, and he's writing a book, he calls it the Cookbook. And Mr. Heap thought it was really silly, but it turns out that it's not exactly what he thinks. He's not into cooking. It's just a working title. It's just a book that he's writing about where he thinks it's about the future and what's going to happen. And story tells him that his story is going to inspire somebody in the future. And that person in the future who gets inspired by his book will become president. Interesting. Now, of course, story, she needs to meet somebody who writes books, who writes stories. And M. Night Shyamalan himself showed up and met Story. And that's when he starts having that feeling like pins and needles in his body. So now that's done. And now, Story thinks Mr. Heap is her guardian. But it turns out he's not, because he's not capable of facing that scrunt. Now, he meets this guy who's good with words. He does crossword puzzles, and words does pop out on whatever he writes down from his crossword puzzles. While there are a bunch of guys who sits around smoking doobies. Time to smoke a big fat doobie. I just wanted to do that for the fans. One of the fans always kept telling me to do this, so to you. Anyway, there's a bunch of guys who sits around, smoke pot, and what they do is they talk and gossip things that they think it's really important, but it's not. Like they finally made up a word called baby on the half tent. Whatever that means. And of course, certain people would help to... And now, here's the thing. The scrunt, their teeth is very venomous, that his scratches and bites can cause her to die. And much to our surprise, the scrunt kills somebody. And it's the film critic. I know what your critics are thinking. Boo! Boo! But here's something you need to think about. He's a film critic. Me, I'm an internet reviewer. I review things that I think it's good and wanted to share it to everybody. Film critics, they criticize movies who they think it's horrible, but as me, I think they're good, and give it a shot. Like some of the film critics talk about John Carter, they think it sucked, but I think it's good. Sisko and Ebert talked about My Fellow Americans sucked, but I liked it. So, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but not film critics. Sorry, got something on my nose. Anyway, now I'm gonna check out this one movie coming out called Valerian. I want to check the movie out. Even though the critics say that movie flopped, not until I got something to say about it. Anyway, back to the story. It turns out that Mr. Hebe was a healer. So now, they're getting all the Mexican girls, and M. Night Shyamalan's sister, and of course Choi, the Korean girl, out to guard the place, along with this man who has no secrets, because his wife always kept telling everybody what he has. My husband is in the bathroom. He has horrible gas. Don't tell him I told you. And of course the man who thinks his life is over. And he was a former manager of the Cove. But now he gave it to Mr. Hebe. So now he lives in an apartment, and now he helps out, since Mr. Hebe really admires him. Anyway, they all looked out to see if there's that scrunt anywhere while the rain started and the eagle's going to show up. And here's the shocker. It turns out that the guardian was none other than that one kid named Reggie in this movie. Now, who's Reggie in this movie? He's that kid who's working one side of his body. He's been doing a lot of lifts, weightlifting on one side of his body, while the other half is just kind of puny. While one half, he does a lot of weight lifts and all. It's like his experiment. But now it turns out that he's the guardian, and he has to keep eye contact. So he keeps telling the scrunt to back away. But as he heard the eagle making his "ah" sound, he looked up, and the scrunt was about ready to attack him, but a bunch of Tartutics grabbed that scrunt and get him out of here. And finally, the eagle swooped down, picked up Story, and took her to her world. And that was it. And that was the end of Lady in the Water. Kinda neat, huh? Now, I know some of you may not like it, some of you kinda liked it, but to me, I like it. It's really good, and I say it's a good fantasy. Believe it or not, this movie was based from a children's book written by M. Night Shyamalan himself. And the reason why he wrote that children's book, well, he wrote it for his kids. Lovely family. Anyway, he wrote that children's book for his daughters when they were really young. And all of his kids love his bedtime story that he written, a children's book. You know, I should find that children's book somewhere. But it inspired him to make this movie. Oh yeah, and the guy with the crossword puzzle, turned out he wasn't the one who gets the message. His son does. His son gets the message by looking at cereal box. Must be subliminal. But you guys should look this movie up. It's not bad. I mean, some people do criticize it, but to me, I think it's really good. It's worth a good story. And some of the actors were pretty awesome. and that is the lady in the water. Now, for those of you who likes this review, please leave a comment down below, hit like, subscribe, and oh yeah, I got really big news for you folks, and you better wait, because there's going to be a trailer announcing what I'm going to be doing in my next show. So stay tuned. And as for you all, as the great and powerful Oz. No, I think it's more like, to behold the wizard and his unspeakable powers. Tell you all.